Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle. My name is Iain Mackay, I'm your host. And with me tonight to discuss the Newcastle-Chelsea game on Sunday, the Champions League playoff as it's been billed in certain circles, I've got another boys' night going on. I'm joined by Rafa Benitez. No, I'm joined by Michael Graveslaw. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm not going to do the accent. Yeah, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. How about you?
Good. Yeah, please don't do the accent. I'm still hoping nobody spotted me called Sanchez Martinez and get all the Mexican names. So are you doing a Spanish accent for Rafa would probably get us cancelled immediately.
Yeah,
Don't
let's
do it.
avoid that.
And also, last but by no means least, sounding even more sexily husky than normal, Kevin Esther. How are you, Kevin?
Oh, yeah. I thought, to be fair, I thought you were going to say, speaking of being cancelled, the man who will get us cancelled, it's Kev. That's where I thought you were going to go, but yeah, I'll take the huskiness.
I don't record anything before we're doing the podcast, Kev, so you're probably safe. If I did, you wouldn't be. It would have happened months ago. Anyway, boys, we're here to preview, in my view, the most important game of the season so far, including the Carabao Cup final. When Newcastle turn up just after breakfast to play Chelsea at midday on Sunday. It almost feels a bit winner takes all on this game. We're level on point with Chelsea in 4th and 5th. Level on goal difference even. We are just ahead of them by virtue of having scored 2 or 3 more goals. So we couldn't be closer. And therefore, whoever wins this game is putting themselves well ahead of the others in terms of the Champions League, because of course we've only got 6 points each to go for after that. Now, I'm feeling, having watched Chelsea dismantle Liverpool last week, I'm feeling a lot more nervous than I thought I was going to be when we were hammering Ipswich and we were just going to stroll to Champions League qualification. How are you feeling? Michael, I'll come to you first because it looks like you've dozed off.
No, I'm good. I'm all good. It's one of those. I still feel fine. Chelsea, yes, they won against Liverpool. They won against a Liverpool side that resembled the big market on a Friday night. Not disorientated. People couldn't stand. There were people filing out the lot. What a sight! But the main thing for me, and I always like a good stat, in Newcastle are top of the form table. We're class. In the away form table, Chelsea are 18th. So at home, they've been brilliant. But away from home, they've been on par with, I think it was West Ham, who have been terrible, and the only teams worse than them have been Leicester and Southampton. So, 3 points for the Mags on Sunday.
On par with West Ham. The West Ham that in their worst part of their season came to St James's Park and won 2-0. Is that what you're saying, Michael?
I mean, I wouldn't say the worst part of their season. Potter's made them worse. But yes, that West Ham.
Yes, okay. Kev, are you as confident as Michael is? Because if you are, I feel like I'm going to be much more confident at the end of this podcast than I am starting it.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I mean, if we're just going off what Michael said there in terms of how it works, Chelsea drew with Ipswich at home 2-2, and we battered them 3-0. So we're going to win by at least 3 goals. That's everybody knows that's how football works. Exactly. But no, I think I don't know. It's a tough one. I genuinely think it was 2 huge games this weekend. I think Bournemouth against Villa is huge for us. If Bournemouth win that and we beat Chelsea and Forest still have to play each other.
Yeah.
So I think if Bournemouth win and we win, I think we've got top 5 definitely. Because like I say, not Forest and Chelsea both can't win on the last game of the season, and I think that'll be enough. But we need Bournemouth to win and us to win to say we've definitely got it. But we've just got to try kind of focus on us, and I'm pretty confident, to be fair. I know Chelsea aren't playing any of the first teamers tonight in the Intertoto Cup Extended Edition, but we are. I'm still confident. I hate the kick-off time, but I just think back to the greatest early kick-off in history, and when we beat Spurs 6-1. So let's do it again. Let's just blow them away in the first 20 minutes. Why not?
Oh, imagine.
It does sound like a good idea. It does sound like
I hope they thought
that
of
we
it.
could do that. I think we were misfiring when we played at Brighton, though. So maybe we'll get in the second half to look where we might be able to tweak the lineup. I have a fairly revolutionary plan to tweak the lineup, which will also avoid offending any of the wingers that might get left out if he just tries to pick two wingers to start. Oh, that's a teaser and a half, isn't it?
Whoa.
Right. So we're all confident, which is great. I'm going to get straight into it. What about a starting lineup? Are I watched that Brighton game and I was frustrated as hell, delighted to get a goal in the last minute. But having listened to how Brighton fans beforehand say how scared they were of Newcastle turning up and predicting the 3-goal loss at home, I was disappointed that we only came away with a point. So that hasn't filled me full of confidence. I'm not normally this nervous. You don't see any problem with how we played in the Brighton game? I know you were disappointed with them in the Brighton game, Michael. Do you think there's got to be changes?
I think it's one of those games where Brighton this season have nullified Gomares and Tonali numerous times. They did it again, and when you were looking for other players to stand up, they struggled. But I think at home against Chelsea, keeping Bruno and Tonali out of the game is going to be so much harder. And Chelsea, Isak always turns up against Chelsea, so they're going to be more worried about him, Jacob Murphy, and Barnes, that they're going to be sitting there not knowing exactly who to go for. And to be fair, we might even start Anthony Gordon, who's been on the bench for the last 4 or 5 games. Isn't it nice having a 75, 80 million pound player just sat on the bench? You could just go, maybe we'll start him this week. Chelsea are going to be terrified, and they'll be playing Conference League again next season.
Oh dear. Well, unless they win the Conference League, Michael, in which case they'll be in the Europa League, and it wouldn't matter what their league position is. Kevin, no problem with how we played against Brighton in terms of that hanging over into a lunchtime kickoff on Sunday.
I don't think there was no problem from my end. I wasn't especially pleased. We didn't win the game or play anywhere near how we could, but I just think I say it all the time, and I'm probably too positive about this, and I don't know why, but Brighton defended really well, and we weren't at our best, and we went to a place where we have a terrible record. We've lost so many points down there in the past, and we still came away with a point, albeit it was a penalty and it was a stupid handball. I get it, but I actually thought at times, again, we had 2 penalties rightfully ruled out by VAR. But I think that shows you are applying some sort of pressure to a team if you're making them dive in at them in them moments where they're very close to the box and all that type of stuff. You are causing a little bit of panic by running at them and getting the ball out wide and trying something. I thought we were okay. I didn't think we were as bad as I read some stuff online, which I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, but there was so many idiots just saying how terrible it was. You're never going to play. How many times do I have to say this? The start of the season, I said it when there was a bit of a blip. You're never going to play well every game in this league. Never going to happen. No team ever does it. We didn't play well, but I still thought we did enough to earn that point. And like I said, when we 1-0 down in the group chat, I thought we looked more likely to score the next goal. And we did by a penalty, but I'm not especially disappointed in them. I think, personally, in terms of team-wise, I don't think I would start Gordon. I thought Barnes, I've been his biggest critic this year. I'm well aware of that. But I still think he's finally had a run of games now where he looks down, he's putting the ball in with his left, he was coming inside, trying to get the shot off. I know his end product wasn't quite there against Brighton, neither was anybody's, but I'd still stick with him. I think he's earned the right to stay in the team. And I think Gordon, maybe if he comes on with half an hour left and gets a goal or an assist, that's when he gets back in the team. But I think you've got to earn it at this point. And I think Barnes has done well. He's done better than I expected him to do. Since he came in just the game before the final against West Ham. But no, I think unchanged if there's no injuries. I think give Willock another go. I know we'll come to that in part 2, but
We'll do that in part 2.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, I've just put my finger actually on why I'm feeling nervous at this time of the year, and it's because, if you remember, we ended up without Europe because in that 3-way battle with Man United and Chelsea last year, Chelsea won their last 6 or 7 games to accelerate away from us. And even though we managed to get to the 6th place, and it was some act of God that allowed Manchester United to beat Manchester City in the FA Cup final and pinched that place from us, I don't know. It's Chelsea, and they have started to put a decent run of results together. I know you're saying the bottom of the form table, Michael, at the away form table, but their last away game was a win at Fulham, and it was a win at Fulham that they trailed in for a long time and came back at the end to win. So I'm quite impressed. That's why I'm worried. But look, we don't have to dwell on Chelsea at all. We're going to talk about what Newcastle are going to do in this part too, what changes we might make. That I'm sure that's going to cheer me up. I'm going to go switch straight onto the Bioniq advert, which I'm not going to mention any other famous people or even the person who is reading it.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
And that was a promotional message from a Canadian supplement company. Back to part two. Now, I think there are options. There's certainly parts of the Newcastle fan base clamouring for a return for Anthony Gordon. Because if we're honest, and if it was the first game of the season and we were picking our first team for Newcastle, everybody was fit, we'd all have Anthony Gordon in it. Now, he has been injured. He's come back. He's had slightly longer cameos in each of the last 3 games. He did almost win a penalty as soon as he came on against Brighton. So I can understand where folk are clamouring for Gordon to start. But that would mean leaving either Jacob Murphy or Harvey Barnes out, both of which seem very, very harsh. Your thoughts, Kevin?
I think, obviously, I touched on it. I don't think you can leave Barnes out. I think he's done enough since coming back in. And I quite like having Gordon off a bench at the minute, especially when Barnes is doing okay. Obviously, I'd much rather have Gordon starting, like you said, if it was at the start of the season, everybody's fully fit. But him coming off a bench with half an hour left and their fullbacks are tiring, look exactly what he did against Brighton. Ran at him, didn't know what to do. And that was a guy who just come off the bench, so he was fresh. He was just not used to the pace of a game. So I don't mind having Gordon off the bench. I think it would be absolutely criminal to drop Jacob Murphy after the season he's had. And I can't believe them words have just come out of my mouth, actually. That's a realisation of it. I really just said it would be criminal to drop Jacob Murphy. But it would be. It genuinely would be so harsh to drop him after the season he's had. I think the only way you play them together, and I don't think this will happen, but it's an idea I've had kind of in my head. If Joe Linton's not fit and he's team and knee specialist and he can't make this game, again, that's went very quiet. So it's got me thinking, is there just surprise inclusion of Joe Linton coming up? But you could play Gordon as a number 10 and have Tonali and Bruno almost as a double pivot and have Gordon as a 10 behind Isak. It's very aggressive. It would be very unlike Eddie Howe. It would catch Chelsea off guard, and it gets Barnes on the left, Murphy on the right, and Gordon behind Isak. So it gets everybody included, but I don't think it would happen. But that would, for me, be the only option where he plays, because at the minute I think Barnes has done well enough, and you just can't drop Jacob Murphy for the form he's in.
That's a fantastic idea, Kevin. I've never thought of that. I think my
get me on the coaching team. Eddie gives a call.
My plan of telling the wingers that they're going to have a half each and starting Barnes and Murphy, but subbing them at half time to bring Gordon and Asula on, which that might still be what happens sometime later on in the second half. But no, I just love the way you've got Barnes and Gordon playing on the same team.
4-2-3-1.
It would mean a little bit more defensive rigor required from Bruno than he has been doing. But
he can do it, though. We've seen him do it. We've seen him
always a number 6. Always a number 6, and it would put him closer to Tonali throughout the game, which can only be a good thing. Michael, a lot of points we whizzed through since Kev started talking, but I think initially I was asking about whether it's Barnes and Murphy who start, or if you bring Gordon in.
Yeah, I think I'll touch on both what was said just there with the formations and this as well. It sort of links in. When you look at Chelsea's midfield three, Fernandes, Caicedo, and then Palmer, you kind of need a midfield three in there to tackle it, but you also need arguably your two best defending wingers at the same time, and that is Harvey Barnes and Jacob Murphy. Gordon, we've seen Eddie Howe get frustrated, should I say, a few times with Gordon with his lack of defensive effort at times. Sometimes he's absolutely phenomenal, uses his pace to get back really quickly, but then there's a lot of times where he's just a little bit out of position. Barnes and Murphy do excellent jobs as defensive wingers. We loved Miggy for it during his purple patch season. And the fact he could just hit a ball from anywhere and it'd go in for a month. But so
they're sort of for a month, didn't he?
Yeah, like Cisse, the last part of that 11-12 season, just, I'm going to kick a ball and it's going to go in the back of the net. It was lovely. Murphy's kind of had that for 2 seasons now. It's lush.
Yeah.
It's no longer a purple patch with Murphy.
No, 2 seasons, can't complain. But yeah, I think with the strength of Chelsea's midfield, that midfield three is what you really need to nullify. You do need 3 players in there, and you need 2 fairly defensive wingers to make the most of Cucurella's lack of defensive ability, should I say, and not a lot of pace getting forward, but still helping out that back line as well, because they are very dangerous, but they've got so many mistakes in that back line, Chelsea, that you can, as long as you can keep them tight, as long as you can keep games tight, you should win.
More scarily in that midfield, I think, particularly because I rated him before he got injured and actually looked like he had approached full fitness. Caicedo, I think, played right back the last couple of games, and Lavia has come into the midfield. Lavia sounds a bit of it. No, I won't say that.
No.
So, but I think I rate him. I mean, he's somebody who could take Joe Linton on, and we haven't got Joe Linton.
Yeah.
He was excellent when he was at Southampton, even. So yeah, I'm a bit spooked by them, but I hear what you're saying. If we've got the wingers tracking back and defending well, then you're right. We should be outnumbering them in the midfield with an outlet, a reasonably sort of 10 or 15-yard outlet ball, which is very good. Where does Willock fit in? Is it Willock that's in the midfield, or do we bring Miley in, who I think's got a lot more defensive nous about him, stronger tackle? He's played number 6.
I think we're in a position now where, with 3 games left, you can't really risk switching things up too much. And granted, I think Willock this season has had a disappointing season. I thought he was all right against Brighton, to be honest. A lot of people criticised him. I thought first half he was actually quite good. Just the end product wasn't quite there.
Best of the midfield, I thought, because Bruno 100%. And Tonali were just nullified, weren't they?
Yeah.
And at least there was something coming through him. What about they in the back line? Because Sven Botman must be approaching some form of fitness as well. And Fab Shah has looked more and more injured each of the last couple of games that he's limped off in. I think he came off before the end, did he not, against Brighton? Was it Kraft came on to cover for him?
It was like 96, yeah, something like that.
So are we at a point where Sven's got a couple of cameos under his belt? Would he come in to give Fab Shah a rest before the big Arsenal game, of course, which could be even more important if we don't win this one on Sunday?
You've got to keep Shaw in. I mean, the way we play with the ball, I know he's give a ball away and he hits these big crossfield passes and he loses, but he goes forward and he's going to give a ball away because he passes forward a lot. But I think the way we play Shaw is so important. I think if he's fit, he's the first centre half on the team sheet for me because it's
I agree.
We've got nobody to replace him.
Not a tactical switch. I wasn't meaning a tactical switch.
Yeah.
I meant
if it's an injury.
If by missing a game, like he's acted when we played at Liverpool and has been able to come back and play every game since, if Shah needs that fortnight break between games to be fit enough for the Arsenal and the Everton games,
I'd rather risk him for this one. I think this is our second cup final of the season. I think because, like I say, depending on, I mean, if Bournemouth do beat Villa, we don't know. and we beat Chelsea, I think we've definitely got top 5. We've got Champions League next season. So it's such a big game. I'd rather risk Shaw in this one and he misses the next 2 than miss this one. He's so... I'd probably put him in our top 4 most important players who we need in terms of a style we play. I know he had a bit of a dip this season where he wasn't as good, but I think since the final he's
come
been
back from the final.
almost.
He's been excellent.
He's definitely
he
come
has
back.
been very
So
good.
I do want to add, I think, and this sounds so stupid because he's got more than 20 goals over 2 seasons, but I think recently he's been a little bit offered. This game all depends on which Isak turns up. If it's for Isak who has 3 or 4 chances and only gets 1 goal, we might struggle. But if it's for Isak who gets 3 or 4 chances and scores 3, then obviously we'll win because we'll score lots of goals. But I genuinely believe this game depends on Isak. Because I think I was a little bit disappointed with him against Brighton. I was disappointed with him against Ipswich.
Yeah.
I think Ipswich, he could have had a hat-trick against it. He scored the hardest chance against Ipswich.
He did. He missed 2 sitters in the first 2 minutes.
Again, I thought Brighton defended really well and we did nullify Isak. But again, I'm expecting this superstar get the ball and just make something happen. So it all depends on him, I think, this game. And Michael's already made a great point about the midfield battle. We've got a very strong midfield, but Chelsea's midfield should not be slept on. I know we put Palmer in our most disappointing 11, or I did. But he scored a goal in his last game. He's going to be right at it again. So, yeah, I think it's down to our striker in how many. I think we will create chances, but how many get put away?
Yeah, 100%.
Excellent. Well, let's just dream whilst Michael tells us about Zencastr. That it's 3 or 4 that he puts away, Kev.
Yeah, definitely.
To be fair, I do just want to add on Alexander Isak before I go into the advert. I sort of agree. I haven't been impressed with him at all the last few games, and I've said that I believe it's because Isak's been holding an injury, and he's too big to risk, particularly when you look at Wilson coming off the bench. But other than Palace, I don't know many. He had a brilliant assist against Man United, but other than that, he's not really getting involved in the game as much. But I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to give you the Zencastr advert now.
Excellent.
So, here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we've spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out a clear winner with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ours. It is super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
And that is what Michael Grahamslaw sounds like when he's not distracted by doing his huge repertoire of impersonations.
Rafa, and posh Rafa.
Well, I was going to say include Stephen Fry in there.
Stephen Fry was a good one. I missed the one where he said that Zencastr could hopefully erase Kev from a pod. That one genuinely made me laugh.
You're welcome, buddy.
Yes, excellent. Right. Well, look, we have managed to overrun just the right amount of time for us to dive straight into our predictions in this first part of part 3. But I just want to have a little sort of appendix afterwards where we analyse what we do in the last 2 games, depending on whether we win this, draw this, or lose this. So, predictions. I'll come to you first, Kev.
Chelsea. I think it is going to be quite a close game. For some reason, I don't know why, because we've got a decent record early kickoffs under Eddie Howe. We haven't got a good record on Monday night. I went through that in a previous pod, but for some reason, I don't fancy early kickoffs. I don't know why, even while our record's okay. I'm going to go very close, 2-1 win to Newcastle, and it'll feel massive at the end of it. When that final whistle goes, it'll be big. I think Chelsea might score first, but I think we'll respond in the second half with 2 goals, 2-1 win.
Ooh.
Michael?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those where we come into it a little bit nervous. The Geordies haven't really had enough time to have enough drink to really influence the game. But let's be honest, the Black Otter opens at 9:00, so half the fans will be fine. But yeah, I think it'll be one of those. We overwhelm them quite early on. I'm not saying right at the start. I think it'll be a cagey opening 10 minutes, and then we'll score between 15 and 30, take control of the game, get a second in the second half.
Ooh, I like that.
Easy come, easy go. Chelsea go back to London with 0 points, and Newcastle have a 2-0 win.
I think that sounds like you've already watched the game, Michael. I wish I had seen that video.
It's a good game.
I think this is a great game for me to stick with my 3-1.
Yeah.
Because I do think that we'll. I think this might be really exciting. And every time I go into a game feeling this nervous, I'm thinking of playing away at Arsenal in the semi-final. I'm thinking of playing Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. I'm thinking of playing Liverpool at home and playing Arsenal at home. And we always really, really turn it on. We turn up for these big games, and we took the lead in all of those games. I think we'll do that. And I think we'll just keep going. I think it's absolutely wonderful that we've got Anthony Gordon, that we've got a Will Asula chomping at the bit to come on for the last 15, 20 minutes. Can you imagine what he's going to do to Cucurella if it's Cucurella that's playing left back and they bring him on to cover Murphy? Um, yeah, I think 3-1. I don't even know when Chelsea get their one. It's probably going to be a penalty or something or a free kick. Like Sterling
I think
screaming.
they'll catch us on the
Oh,
break
one.
when we're in a dominating spell. I think they'll get us on the break and they'll go 1-0 up, and I think we'll come back.
Right. Well, I'm going 3-1. It's nice that we've both all picked 3 wins. So, that's great. I agree with Kev. I think if we beat Chelsea and Arsenal, who I did predict were when we beat them next week, that'll be their 5th loss in a row.
Mm-hmm.
We might get home in time to watch them lose at Liverpool in the league. In which case we'd be 2 points behind them. I'm really hoping Fulham can do Man City on the last day of the season so we can get into second. But yeah, I think that I think if we beat Chelsea, it means that we're going to win the other 2 games. We're going to win at Arsenal. We're going to beat Everton, and it'll give us a chance to finish second. We'll probably end up finishing third to Manchester City. Anybody disagree with us finishing in 2 or 3 if we do win this game? Michael?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where if we win this, I do think we finish third, and I do think it's instead of Arsenal because as much as good as they looked in the opening 10, 15 minutes against PSG yesterday, or at the time of recording yesterday, should I say? I think their season's done now. I think they're going to have one of those moments where they just not capitulate, but they really, really struggle, and you could see. Go all Spursy. It's a North London thing. It's not just a Spurs thing. Particularly when Spurs win the Europa League and we all go, ugh.
I just think that with Chelsea having dominated Liverpool so much last week, that if Arsenal are beaten by Liverpool at Anfield, they're really off a cliff then. And I do think we'll beat them when we get down there. Why not? We've won all 3 games with them already this season. Okay, so let's say it's a draw. Where does that leave us?
I
Vulnerable?
think we're still okay. I think it's one of those where because we're playing Chelsea, a draw's okay. If we were playing, let's say, Aston Villa and Chelsea were playing Bournemouth, I'd be sitting here going, okay, you know what? We might have a problem because Chelsea will probably overtake us. Then Forest can overtake us by beating Chelsea, etc. But I think the fact that we have to play Chelsea, uh, that's a draw, puts us 4 ahead of Villa. They would have their game to play. They could only move within one of us. Another draw against Arsenal could be worrying, but at the same time, I'm confident that we're beating Everton on the final day. You'd have Villa having to win every game. Forest are in poor form. 5th would still be on the cards, I think, 100%.
Okay. What about a loss? It's the
Game
same
over.
argument for a loss, isn't it? We're still relying on. I think if we lose, Chelsea are finishing ahead of us,
Yeah.
even if we beat Arsenal and Everton, because they're 3 points ahead. They've only got to win one of the last 3 games. There'll be a tweak on goal difference, which will put them ahead twice as many as whatever the winning margin is. But our saving grace is that Forest. I think Forest are really struggling.
Yeah,
They've
they've
won
gone
one
down.
of their last 5 games.
Our goal
Predicted,
difference is like an extra point. Like other than
yeah,
Chelsea, who have the same goal difference in terms of Villa, in Forest, our goal difference is like having that extra point. I think
Yeah.
if we draw to Chelsea, I still think we'll be okay. I think a loss adds a lot of pressure going into Arsenal. Now, I get what you guys are saying, and I actually think we could definitely go down to Arsenal and beat them for a fourth time in one season, which would be amazing. But I don't want to rely on that. I think we've got to aim to get this job done on Sunday. But I think a draw is not the end of the world. I think a draw is okay. It'd be lovely if Bournemouth beat Villa, and when you've got that goal difference as an extra point, you almost still get a free hit at Arsenal if you draw, and then you've just got to beat Everton at home, which, I mean, we should be beating Everton at home.
We should do, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is that if Arsenal do lose at Liverpool, which they should do, if Liverpool even put half the normal midfield in, they should beat Arsenal. Arteta's already under so much pressure from his own fans about failing again. It's another season
mental, isn't it?
without a trophy. And the fans there are now talking about them finishing fourth instead of second. They're the only team that can finish fourth in a 2-horse race, which is pretty incredible. There'll be another week of it if Liverpool win. And the last team Arteta will want to face to try and redeem his reputation is Eddie Howe's mob at home, because we already made him cry down there. It's the last team he'll want to face. I think we'll win it.
Someone needs to tell him that the ball we use in Carabao Cup is going to be made by a Premier League ball next year. Is going to be made by Puma, so he's going to be absolutely raging next season.
He's going to cry.
Right. Well, that is great to have that chat. We seem to have whizzed through it. Thank you very much indeed for your participation, Kevin and Michael, who's got his finger up. Do you need the toilet, Michael, or have you got something to say?
Yes, sir. I'll quickly go in a moment, but I do just have one thing I wanted to add just at the end.
Add away.
Yeah, so I've got a little stat here. Eddie Howe has beaten Chelsea 7 times in his career, but can either of you tell me what is unique about those 7 wins?
No, he hasn't. He kept a clean sheet every time.
Nope.
All at home?
Nope. I'll give you both one more guess.
I only had one guess.
I just don't want it to last.
Unique about the 7 times that he's won.
Willock scored in the 1-0.
It includes Bournemouth.
Yeah. Has it been by 3 goals or more?
We won 1-0 with Willock scoring.
Great goal.
I have no idea. And midfielders always scored in every game. I think you have to give us the answer.
No. Tell us, Michael, so we don't have dead air at the end of our podcast.
I might just leave it actually and just let everyone guess. No, they've all come against different managers. He has never beaten a Chelsea manager more than once, which is probably a bad omen going into the weekend. But he's beat Mourinho, Conte, Sarri, Lampard, Potter, Pochettino, and this season Maresca. If we win on Sunday, it will be the first Chelsea manager that Eddie Howe has beaten twice. Or should I say, when?
That's crazy. I tell you what else I heard today as well. Chelsea haven't played. I think they're the only team in Premier League history who have went through a full season pretty much and haven't played a player over 27.
Really? Yeah. I mean, that's a transfer policy and a half, isn't it?
The oldest one is Sanchez, who is 27.
Yeah.
That's mental. So, yeah, young team.
What about
Sanchez is only 27 26. Because he's aged 5 years playing in Chelsea's teams. Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. As I was saying, Michael, thanks very much for your time. Some very good stats there, which you've prepared for us. Thanks a lot. Kev, thank you very much indeed for your input as well. My name has been Iain Mackay. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Lots of questions that we asked. If anybody would like to send us a message on the YouTube channel, please have a chat underneath that with us. We'll read them all and answer every single one. Please like and subscribe. We are your daily Newcastle podcast, and we will see you for our review on Monday morning.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.